Praise Saul, another season of Raised by Wolves has come and gone, and it's only fitting that the very last line of the season is... In this video, we'll be going over the final episode of the season, theories for Season 3, and a whole lot more. I've also left timestamps for all the topics I'll be covering, so feel free to skip ahead to what interests you the most. That being said, it's been an amazing journey so far, and I hope you'll like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It's the best way you can support the channel if you've been enjoying these videos. Vrille's writing. This is very much a loose end going into Season 3, and it would be a huge letdown if what Paul said about the writing is true, that it's just, quote, dopey Earth stuff. Vrille deemed this information to be important, saying it's consisted of the real Vrille's diary entries. We know that the real Vrille had a tumultuous relationship with her mother, and last episode we got some pretty interesting information that her mother, Decima, worked for one of the companies responsible for the destruction of Earth's atmosphere.
When the real Vrille learned her mother was profiting off weapons that were destroying the Earth's atmosphere.
My best guess so far is that these writings contain some sort of code to create and or reprogram something into a weapon. Remember that Campion Sturgis was the only person to successfully reprogram a necromancer. I can't help but think there's a connection between Vrille, who may have been working with the atheists because she hated her Mithraic mother so much, and Campion. That might also explain Kepler Campion's special relationship with Vrille.
I loved her.
So what if this writing contains something that could reprogram a necromancer? And who knows, they may even bring Vrille back. Not entirely sure how, but this line from Mother leaves the possibility open.
Machines do not die, Campion. We break down.
The death of the Serpent. Well, rest in peace, baby snake. It's been a rough season for you. The finale unfortunately leaves us with more questions than answers when it comes to the snake, but there are some interesting observations to be made that call into question everything we know about it. First is the snake's pursuit of Campion. Now, it may just be me, but I really think that if the snake wanted to kill Campion here, it easily could have. Like, we see it clearly hesitating before firing off these necromancer screams into the ocean. I think it's actually warning Campion here, do not go in the water. This makes more sense when we later hear Campion say this.
The water's warmer than the air. Wish we could go in.
In fact, I don't think the Serpent is bad at all. The first thing it did when escaping captivity was to destroy the very object that it was allowing the entity to circumvent the EMF field. It's a tragic death for the Serpent when it's killed by its own mother, even wanting to connect to her for milk, not knowing she had her port sealed a few episodes prior. The lullaby Mother uses to lure the Serpent into space is the same song she sang to Campion when he was born. Mother leads the Serpent above the planet's atmosphere, and her scream, causing the Serpent to come crashing back to the ground, seems to disrupt the tropical zone's electromagnetic field, which you can see here with these hexagonal markings. We'll see these same hexagons when Grandmother repairs the hibernation pods. I wonder if there's a connection. With the electromagnetic field destroyed, this will leave all our characters susceptible to the entity's influence, and it also seems to have changed the weather. There's even the talk of potentially moving should it get too cold. With the Serpent destroyed, Mother reaches into its eye to retrieve this unknown object. Just like Mother puts in her eyes to weaponize, maybe this is the Serpent's version of that. Why include this moment unless this object will come into play next season? And if things couldn't get even weirder, the Serpent's body decays and sprouts into a tree. Perhaps this is the result of having eaten Sue, Marcus, and the Upside Down Cross. Well, Marcus has gone on one hell of a journey from staunch believer back to atheist. He, like Mother, wants to see the entity destroyed. After all, it was the thing that turned Sue into a tree. Yes, it still sounds weird when I say that. When Marcus learns from Paul that the entity was using the tree as a way to connect it from the core to the tropical zone, he knows the answers to finding and potentially destroying it may lie within one of those pits. So he travels back to the temple where the bodies of Vrille's victims still lay dead, but unfortunately for him, he's shot by Lucius. Lucius wants nothing more than to kill Marcus for being being a false prophet, and false prophets deserve to be punished and killed slowly. This is why he's crucified upside down while wearing the Punisher helmet, for Lucius believes Marcus should die in darkness. The upside down crucifixion imagery is something that's been hinted at before. Take a look at this painting Caleb and Mary find in season 1. The origins of the upside down cross are believed to originate with the death of St. Peter, one of Jesus' apostles. The story goes that he did not believe himself to be worthy to be killed in the same manner as Christ, so he asked to be crucified upside down. It's actually only until fairly recently that the upside down cross has been associated as an anti-Christian or satanic symbol. When Lucius takes off the Punisher helm, we can see that Marcus is still alive by the movement around his mouth, but damn does he not look good. A little time does pass after, so it's possible that he did die, and if so, Marcus's resurrection would mimic that of Christ. Lucius says that he is now the prophet and that he will be king, proving that the entity has now taken a hold of him. Now there's two ways to interpret this wild ending. The first, and not as exciting, is that this never happened at all. Lucius is hallucinating as a result of the entity's hold over him. But if what Lucius sees is real, it raises far more questions. How did this happen? How did nailing himself to this tree give him the ability to levitate, basically in the same manner that necromancers do, only upside down? We know that these trees dig deep into the ground to establish a connection to the core. It's a way of getting energy. Maybe that's what has given Marcus these powers. This also begs the question if Marcus will have some sort of connection with Sue. If Sue became a part of the planet, is she still there in some form or another? On to Tempest's baby. Last episode we saw how Hunter killed the sea creature to get Tempest's baby back. Well, it looks as though the sea creature's milk has altered the baby's genetic makeup, giving it webbed fingers. And I can't help but think the sea creature milk is somehow linked to the devolution process that grandmother so desperately wants. After all, she says the marine fungus that the sea creatures eat can be used as nutrition should the fruit die from the cold. And this marine fungus will likely facilitate in this devolution process, a process which has already started to affect people like Campion. Grandmother also makes it clear that they should not eat the sea creatures.
You should not eat the creatures. It causes problems.
If these creatures are our ancestors, it would be tantamount to cannibalism. But why is grandmother wanting to devolve humanity? She was programmed to ensure the everlasting life of it, but sees the only way to ensure this is by devolving them to such an extent they become ignorant, essentially the sheep to her shepherd.
Ignorance is bliss.
Not quite bliss, but key to survival.
The title of this episode is Happiness, which relates to grandmother's belief that the everlasting life of humanity hinges on their happiness over knowledge, that it is better to be happy and ignorant than knowledgeable and bitter with the truth. On the official grandmother poster released by HBO, you'll see the tagline, "Sacrifice for Survival," which harkens back to the conversation grandmother had with mother about how the ancient humans, the technocrats, couldn't rationalize why a being like the entity and snake would want to destroy itself. One might destroy itself if it means ensuring the survival of others, and that's essentially what grandmother is doing. When grandmother puts mother into hibernation, she tells her of this plan, that she had to alter the equation of her programming to get her desired answer, everlasting life for humanity.
In order to produce the necessary answer, I had to alter the equation.
She says that humans will still be humans, just a
simpler, happier version of themselves.
Her goal is that when all the humans have devolved to a point where they go back into the water, the entity will return to its slumber, and she promises to release Mother from hibernation. The important bit of info I get out of this is that the core seems to only be active so long as humans are a threat to it. So maybe the core is the planet's protective mechanism, ensuring humanity doesn't kill it and itself, similar to what it did on Earth. That's why when humanity is devolved and no longer a threat, it will go back to its slumber. But it's Mother here who has the counter argument. Yes, this may be the logical thing to do to ensure survival, but it's not the right thing to do. And that's one of the things I love about the show, the philosophical questions it begs. Two parts of the devolution process seem to revolve around the fungus and a video game she has produced to give to the colony. My best guess is that the video game is some form of brainwashing which will allow her to easily shepherd her flock. It's no surprise then that the star-shaped game cartridge that it comes in is six-pointed, just like Saul's star that we'll see Lucius carving. Both seem to be used as a symbol of control, one via electronics, the other via religion. Grandmother also seems to have plans with Father. She even makes a move on him, to which he counters by stating his devotion to Mother. Remember that when Grandmother first awoke, she wondered why Father wasn't wearing his veil and why he was speaking this language. She even states that the two of them are partners. It seems as though she knew him from before. There's definitely something Grandmother is hiding from Father that we don't yet know. Mother, the veil, and hibernation. Let's talk a bit about Mother herself, who has put on Grandmother's veil to null herself of emotion, allowing her to kill her child, the snake. This veil will eventually be her downfall, as it literally ends up consuming her. I also love the attention to detail the creators have put into the show, as when Mother is confronted by extremely emotional moments, such as their interaction with Campion, her veil starts to go apeshit, almost as if it's working overtime to null these emotions. This same veil turning red is experienced by Grandmother when she finds out there are humans on the planet. But what I find more interesting is where Mother ends up while hibernating. Remember that when the Mithraic used the hibernation pods to escape Earth, they were put in a virtual sim so that they could all be together during their long journey. This is what Mother accessed in Season 1, where she was impregnated by virtual Campion. In fact, that's exactly where Mother is teleported to when she arrives in this sim, this virtual monastery where she and Campion made love. It looks as though Season 3 will start with Mother reunited with Campion Sturgis, and I wonder if we'll even get some cool flashbacks, just like we saw when Mother entered the pod in Season 1. The tarot cards. Earlier in the season, we learned these cards may contain data, and Father even uses this device to play a gruesome video depicting what happens to those who touch the seeds. We've seen many of these cards throughout Seasons 1 and 2. There's even one depicting a human upside down, but I'm not exactly sure if this was to foreshadow Marcus. These cards seem to depict a cycle that has happened and will happen again. I wonder if these other cards offer similar videos, which may shine a light on some of the planet's biggest mysteries. The hologram video they watch also depicts a scene of cloaked figures surrounding a tree that is very reminiscent to what Mother saw at the end of Season 1. However, in that scenario, the figures were surrounding an android head spewing white liquid contained within a dodecahedron, the Relics. Grandmother clearly states that the humans, especially the children like Vita, are not to play with any of the relics. Vita magically finds one with each side covered in eyes. The tree box contained a seed, maybe this one has necromancer eyes in it. At this point, it's become so frequent characters finding random things that I can't help but think there's some other force wanting the humans to collect them. Almost as if it's wanting to make sure they are found. Either that or it's just very lazy writing. Which leads me to another theory, that there are actually two entities. One which is more powerful and controls the voice, and another that is secretly working behind the scenes to undermine the other's plan. Now this one is really easy to miss, but when they are watching the hologram, you can hear an ancient Mithraic lullaby playing as part of the recording. It's the same thing Sue sings to Paul.
The sun has sunk, the shadowy night.
Vita sings it as well.
The sun has sunk, the shadowy night.
And the lyrics go way back to Season 1 when Ambrose recites it.
The sun is sunk, the shadowy night is reigning in your room.
It playing as part of this recording confirms its origins millennia ago, and that we are likely descendants of these ancient humans. The Punisher helm is also interesting. Mother states relics like this might somehow be connected to the entity. With the EMF field destroyed, could these relics act as conduits between their holders and one or two of these entities? Remember that Marcus resurrected after the Punisher mask was put on his face, and that this is, to our knowledge, the first time it's ever been put on someone after the EMF field had been destroyed. Is there a connection? Bick, Hunter's android. We get a super short scene where Nerva asks Hunter about the android he's been working on. It seemed like a very odd scene to add, especially since Bick, the name of this android, has played absolutely no role in the plot at all. All he's been so far is extra VFX dollars the production had to spend. I can't help but think they're setting this droid up for something. Near the end of the episode, a little girl has fashioned a medallion in the shape of Mother and calls it God.
Lamia, the serpent killer. Lamia the god.
If an android can be made a god, can the reverse not also be true, a god as android? What I'm trying to say here is if the entity, which was once perceived as the god Soul, is in reality an ancient machine. We've just given it the name God because we can't begin to comprehend its power or how it works. And what about that fruit?
Run by fruiting!
One thing I hope wasn't just a red herring was the tree fruit much of the colony ate in episode 7. As far as we know, only Marcus, Paul, and Vita had some of it, but the question remains whether it will have any sort of impact on the characters. I could see this, however, being an abandoned plot point in season 3. So that's the bulk of what I wanted to cover in this video, but now I leave it open to you. What are your thoughts and theories about Raised by Wolves, and what do you think we can expect in season 3? Thanks again for watching, everyone. Be sure to like and subscribe, and for more bad takes, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at ThinkStoryYT. Until next time, remember... What the fuck?